Okay.
Take two.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here.
Me too.
Let's just start with introducing yourself and what do you do, even?
So, my performing career started as an acrobat. I did that for 3, 4 years, was on a few different shows such as America's Got Talent, The Ellen Show, and toured all over Europe with my acrobatic team. And then after that, I started pursuing a lifelong dream, which was becoming a stuntman.
Okay.
And I've been focusing on that for the past few years now, as well as acting. So, stunts, modeling, and acting is now my main focus.
Okay, I love that. Was acting always like the number one goal?
Deep down, yes.
Okay.
Like it took me a while to come to terms with it and to like
Uh-huh.
fully embrace it and be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. The whole fear of failure would come up.
Mm,
I tried everything else that I was relatively good at until
okay.
I actually finally was like, no, okay, it's time to go full force on stunts and acting. But
Interesting.
yeah, has always been a childhood dream of mine,
Okay.
and then acting naturally like came with it as well.
Got it. So is your goal more like to be like lead role character or like full-time stuntman? Because stuntmen are usually like you never know who they actually are.
My goal is to be like Tom Cruise. I can
Okay.
do both. Lead role
You're
character and stunts.
doing your own stunts. Like
Yes,
you don't
all
want
my own
anybody
stunts.
else being
No,
hired to pretend to be you.
no. I mean, it's a lot more intricate than that, But I think the whole stunt industry is so awesome, and I'd love to continue to support that as much as I can. I'm still just barely breaking into the industry, but
Mm.
it's if I can provide jobs for other people, I'd happy to do that as well.
Yeah,
But for the
that's
most part,
awesome.
doing my own stunts.
Okay, yeah. When I met you, which was I think like 5, 6 years
It's like
ago.
2018, 2019, 2019.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes,
Yes. Oh my
yeah.
God. Okay, wait, you're right. Okay, 2019. And at that time, I feel like you were just coming into your acrobatic career, right?
Yes.
I don't think I knew you wanted to be an actor then. Did you know?
No, no, no.
Okay.
It was kind of like a suppressed dream. I was
Okay,
like,
yeah, because you were just like
it was.
starting to pursue
Yeah, I just
acrobatics.
started getting back into acrobatics after like
Okay.
years of like I had ACL surgery. The doctors told me I would never
Oh.
do gymnastics or acrobatics again, so I put that on hold. Started pursuing martial arts instead. And then once I got back out
Oh.
here, went to the green, met all you guys, all the acro yogis. Started getting back into that, and then got brought onto a team of acrobats and started
Okay.
training full time again, and then start my acrobatic career as well.
Got it. Yeah. The team you joined was Positive
Impact Movement, yeah.
Impact
The team
Movement.
was Positive Impact Movement, and it is Travis, Nathan, James, and I.
Yes,
So the
awesome.
four.
Yes, I do remember the start of that.
Yeah.
And that was when I think I first realized you guys were serious about performing live, at least. But when was the moment you realized you wanted to be on camera and like go for like film and acting?
Um, starting the team with Positive Impact Movement allowed me to get more on camera, get more comfortable, like talking and performing on
Mhm.
camera, and ever since the journey started, I knew the end goal was going to be like stunts and acting. Um,
Okay.
and it was just one of those things I kept pushing off for a while,
Mm.
but I've always wanted to do it, and like deep down, I knew that that's what I'm meant to do.
And you come from a Hispanic background, right?
Yeah, my whole family is Mexican.
Okay. Were you born in Mexico? Is
I
that
was born
right?
in Texas, so I have dual
Okay.
nationality, both
Got it.
American and Mexican. But my mom
Oh.
and father are both Mexican. I have so many aunts and uncles, classical Mexican family.
Okay.
um, yeah.
Was part of your like your being raised in a different culture, was that partially what like suppressed your initial desire to go into acting?
No, honestly, I think my mom and dad actually were always super supportive. And my dad would always say like, "You would make a great actor. You should go for it." And
Oh,
I
nice.
it was kind of in the back of my mind. I was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool," but I like never really like decided to go full on and pursue it
Okay.
for XYZ. And then also
Interesting.
specifically when I moved out here to LA, I was like, I don't want to be the classic guy, like moves out to LA, becomes the actor, model, it's like classic LA thing. So I think I definitely
Okay.
pushed it off because of the stereotype for a little bit. And
Okay.
I was like, no, why not? This is what I want to do. This, like, I realized that I I can pursue all my passions in this career.
Yeah.
Doing all the things that make me happy.
Definitely.
And yeah, it first started off with like social media, and then realized, oh wow, you can like make a living off of your passions and doing the things that you like to do.
Yeah.
And then on the bigger scale, it's like, how can we take this one step further and make it bigger? And I realized like the big screen, that was the next step.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Easiest way to reach everybody all at once.
yeah,
Live performance, you unfortunately can only go so far, and you can only
exactly.
be in front of so many people.
Hmm.
So, well, that's exciting. A lot
Yeah,
of like fun, big things on the horizon for you.
yeah, you too.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's true. I guess we
But
kind of started our acting careers around the same
yeah,
time.
and
Um,
congrats on your latest
Thank you.
movie. Am I allowed to say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's not out yet. It's not out. It will be coming out next year, but we already filmed it. It's called Wax Man. I'm allowed to say that.
Okay.
I can't talk about, what I do in the movie yet,
Yeah, yeah.
but I will say it was a huge pivotal moment in my career. And it was actually a huge thing that made me decide I wanted to really dive in deep with this podcast too.
Hmm.
But the role I have is I took it because I feel like it is a very big fundamental issue for women. And it was really challenging for me. The prep work before was really intense. While I was filming, I did end up crying on set. I am so thankful for the production team because they knew it was going to be a hard scene.
Hmm.
My co-star, I can say, is from Scary Movie. So acting with somebody with that much more experience who is like a real actor was so cool, and it was incredible working with him. But it was such an amazing experience. But even the time after, trying to come down from playing that role was a challenge.
Hmm.
And I've found that I have no acting experience at all. And I literally got a DM asking to be in this company's movie. Um, and so it's been a really interesting process, like diving into acting. And I didn't think I ever wanted to be an actress. It was not my plan. It was
Hmm.
just handed to me.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things for me is I went from zero acting to acting in horror movies, which is like
0 to 100 real quick.
yeah, no chill. It was just like instantly we are in it and we are diving into like
the
the
deep end.
most extreme role.
Oh,
And when I started, I think I even messaged you and was like, I don't even know if I want to take this role.
yeah, yeah, I remember.
There were several people I talked to, and I was like, I told my acting coach too. I was like, I I don't know if I can or if I want to do this because I have complex PTSD, and I knew taking this role I would be like fully diving into that. And I was like, I was afraid I wouldn't be strong enough to pull back out.
Hmm.
Which interestingly enough, acting has taught me how to kind of like master my PTSD. So now I can like dive into it and either act a role or let myself cry and heal and pull back out.
Yeah.
Whereas before I couldn't do that.
Like a therapy of sorts.
Yeah, definitely. As my coach says, it's like he does what a therapist does. The only difference is he's not trying to heal me. He's trying to teach me to
Tap into those emotions.
like harness it.
Yeah, it's a power. It's a superpower.
It is. It's a hard power to have though.
Hmm.
I definitely like I haven't had a breakdown from my PTSD in about 3 years. And after doing the movie, I did have one, except it was weird because I was able to gauge how far into it I let myself slip
Hmm.
and then pull back out.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah. Whereas before, like we knew each other when I was living with Max, which is another acrobat friend. And poor Max, I moved with him after my divorce. And there were times I would just have these breakdowns and he'd be like, what is happening to this girl? We love people who help us on our trauma journeys, But anyways, it was so funny because I had that breakdown and I had to film another podcast episode right after. So
Oof.
I cried for 30 minutes, pulled myself out, did my
Sounds
makeup, jumped right back into it. And that's been like a fascinating thing about acting, is learning how to kind of control my trauma and really use it.
Hmm.
Um, have you been doing like more stunt or more acting lately?
Right now, I'm focusing more on stunts.
Okay.
I'm still taking acting classes and taking any other acting opportunities that come my way.
Mm,
But I have this burning desire for stunts right now, so that's really what
okay.
I'm like focusing on. Actually,
Yeah.
that's how I found out that you were in this movie. Remember? I was like, for the audience members that don't know,
Yeah.
um, I was online scrolling through these like lists of like producers, stunt coordinators, production emails that were like us stunt guys would just like send out our portfolios and our stunt reels and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I see this movie come up and I'm looking at the cast. I'm like, Alyssa, like, I'm like, is that the Alyssa I know? I swear I had to double check on my phone. I was like, is that her last name? Like Alyssa? Yeah.
So
And then
funny.
I called you. I was like, hey, you're on this movie, right? I was like, congratulations, this is awesome.
Yeah, super dope.
uh,
Yeah, it
but
was a surprise to me too. Like,
yeah,
it's been wild, honestly. But
but yeah, that was one of the many nights that I just spend sending out my reels and portfolio to all these stunt coordinators, productions assistants, like anyone, any connection I can get a hold of.
yeah, well, and that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way to make it in Hollywood. Just
Mm-hmm.
connections and an extreme amount of tenacity and resilience
Yes,
to just keep going.
absolutely.
So I wanted to bring you on here because this podcast is all about women's role in society from the point of view of women in
Or is that what this
entertainment.
podcast is about?
That is, which I know
I
you're
think I'm
not
in
a
the
woman.
wrong podcast.
Surprise. No, but I started bringing men on because we had a lot of comments on some of the reels that have started to go viral where you know it's just men coming down on,
On women.
yes, and just being so offended. Like, there's points where I just have to put my phone away and I'm like, I cannot read these because I get so triggered and so fired up. Sometimes I'll go at it, but usually it's like more like if it's a reasonable comment where I'm like, they're just voicing their point of view and I can actually have a conversation with this person.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm really like having a day, I'll just like tear into them in the comments. But most of the time, I just bring the topics on to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So if you comment, just know I might tag you and come at you on the podcast directly. But it made me feel like I kind of wanted to bring on more men who work with women. And when I started this podcast, a big reason I wanted to do it was because we know so many badass women, like just incredible, strong, independent, talented women, but we also know them personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one of them myself. And I got tired of just constantly having the stigma on me of who I am because of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing like this idea people have, especially if you're a woman that does use her sexuality in her work, it's a lot of heat of always like, oh, what a hoe. At least when you're starting, I feel like once you make it, you have like now
There's a
it's
little more respect once
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like once I signed with Playboy, it was suddenly like,
Oh, okay, she's serious.
yeah, people gave me so much respect. I don't really get any like hate comments anymore. But when I started, it was just savage.
I bet.
And
I can only imagine.
yeah, it was terrible. I would get messages from people who knew me as a kid, even just tearing into me. And I'd be like, this is insane. And here I'm already struggling as a struggling artist, not to mention going through life.
Yeah, I feel like part of those comments also, those people coming at you, is like a little bit of jealousy in there,
I think that's a
like
huge part of
jealousy
it.
of like you're pursuing the things that you want to pursue
Yeah.
and kind of not giving a fuck about what anyone else thinks, and
Yeah.
they deep down maybe they wish that they could do the same in one area of their lives.
Definitely. Do you, as a guy, get that also, where you get like hate comments and stuff for pursuing your dreams?
A little differently.
Okay.
Not necessarily. I haven't got much hate comments, but I have noticed that I make certain people feel uncomfortable sometimes.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, and some like old friends as well that had kind of like some connections that have fizzled out. and it just came, it was out of nowhere. And
Mm,
I, yeah, I think it just came down to, um, you know, me pursuing my dreams, and maybe they're not doing what they want to be doing,
yeah.
and then that kind of like created some tension, and they started, you know, s- taking a little more distance from me.
Okay.
Um, and then, yeah, sometimes like I'll walk into a room and I'm like, I never like make anyone feel uncomfortable. I always want to make people feel welcome, but I do feel this like underlying tone of like sometimes like make some other guys feel either insecure or like just
Mm.
not fully comfortable in their own skin, like this underlying tone of that. And then you have like the big ego guys that just like lash out on you and like will
God,
send you with these crazy comments. Just same thing. I had insecurities and like
yeah,
jealousies most of the time. So
definitely. Yeah, with you have worked in a lot of different avenues of entertainment, like stunts, acting, acrobats, and stuff. So you've also met a lot of different women who are in these careers too.
many.
What has like, and you know, I feel like you've met a lot of really like powerful women, I would say too. What's been your perspective like in meeting, working, and even having like, friends and personal relationships with these women that everybody sees as these huge like badasses that are like revered around the world, but then knowing them on a personal level, like are there things you've like observed or noticed that maybe most people wouldn't know?
Yeah, I think with the level of success that comes with, it all boils down to at the end of the day, they're still women, and they just want to be
Mm,
loved. They want to be taken care
yeah,
for, and they want to be soft, like
yeah.
most of the time their jobs require them to be very much in the spotlight, bringing on like that active energy, that leadership, that like um, that performance aspect, so they have to be on a lot of the time,
Hmm.
and then you get drained from that.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
and at the end of the day when you come home and you just want to rest, you just like you want to like melt and sink into it.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
very true.
yeah.
So for you as a man, because we do get a lot of comments of men being like either like, well, okay, let me start with one thing at a time. For you as a man, what do you see your role being in relation to women? Both like badasses and maybe like weaker women, or maybe
Watch your words now.
I know.
You
I'm
got
like,
your
wait a
no, I'm
second.
just kidding,
Like,
speak
women who are
freely.
very in the spotlight and, um, women like who just want to be housewives, I guess. Like, how do you see your like men's role in relation to that?
I come from a more of a traditional family household, and growing up, I kind of like balanced that out, being a lot more like open-minded and progressive and whatnot. But as I
Mm,
grow older, I find myself like diving more and more into tradition and like seeing the beauty in tradition.
yeah.
So I definitely consider myself more of a traditional man of like when it comes to like the masculine and feminine roles in society of like how a man should act or how a woman should be and act. I think there's beauty when both people fall into what feels best for them,
Mm,
and say so. If that's a masculine man, that means like the man is the provider, the protector, uh, the caretaker of the physical world, and
okay.
then the woman typically is the nurturer, the like protector of the internal world for the man.
Mm,
But then that takes a very specific synergy, of both parties wanting to do that.
yeah.
Maybe one party doesn't want to, or it doesn't
Mm,
feel naturally in their feminine or in their masculine like that.
yeah.
Um, but for me, in my life, I've always gravitated more towards the traditional role of a man for both. So like strong female figures, and then also less strong female figures, or whatever we want to call them, or more, yeah, more soft feminine female figures. I tend to dive into the same role
Mm.
uh, with both.
Yeah. So one of our very first episodes was about like should a man pay on dates and stuff. What is your point of view when it comes to like finances and like, taking girls out in relationships? Like, because I feel like you tend to gravitate more towards like the strong, independent, like hustler women from what I've seen from knowing you for a long time.
You're not wrong. My track record says so, yes.
Yeah.
But okay, so what was the question? Okay, in my book,
Mhm.
the man should always pay,
Okay.
or not always, most of the time, at least. Um, I've always enjoyed paying for my women. And at the end of the day, I want to provide for my woman. I don't want them to have to worry about money or like the day-to-day things. That's not their job. If they want to work, go for it, but for fun. Like let them pursue their passions for like what they want to do. Think we're just built differently, It's like a man can handle the whole 9 to 5 job, the stresses of like having to like make money for the household or provide and whatnot. Women, it's like your natural cycles are just not built for that. It's not conducive, and I think it's very unfair that we've subjected y'all to like a man's world essentially. You've ladies have had to adapt to that, and it throws everything off. It throws the natural cycle of things. And there's a imbalance in society nowadays, I think, where um, it's it's just a little off,
Yeah. It's so fascinating because I'm having like several different podcasts go through my brain right now because the women I brought on actually all have different points of views also. But I will say I do love that you as a man can like state that because, one thing backstage that we say a lot is that it is crazy for us as women whose bodies are different and we have very intense cycles that happen every month, but we have to work as if we were a man.
Yeah.
So and men, a lot of men in the working world don't have sympathy for that, which is insane. Because like if a man showed up to work and his arm was cut off and he was bleeding, everyone would be like, go home, go to the hospital. But like because we have been conditioned to hide it well and perform as consistently as possible, even though our bodies are constantly shifting, we don't get that luxury. And
you don't get that sympathy. Yeah,
it's so hard. Like even like with what I do, we're backstage and our bodies are going through all this insane stuff. And then we're up in the air, spinning around with nothing but our hands to keep us from falling in these tiny thongs, like splits wide open, like trying to just survive, and people have no idea how hard it is. Anyways, it's crazy that, us as women, we do have to work as a man. And it's hard and it sucks. One of the girls came on. I'm a very like, if you're taking me out, you're paying for me. Otherwise, we're friends, period. But
yeah.
when it comes to like relationships for me, once you've like won me over, once we're together, because I do pay my own bills and I know how challenging it can be, especially as an artist, because I prefer dating artists myself. And I know this is just kind of our life, you're making a lot one day, you're making nothing the next day. It's just how it goes. I am a very like, I love being able to be there for my partner too. And I'm very like, I don't mind spoiling my partner every once in a while too. I mean, like, I've got this one today, Majority, like, of course I want you spoiling me, but I love being able to be like, but today I'm going to take care of it. You can call me daddy today, But when it comes down to bills, in my head, I would love to at some point be like, okay, you can pay all the bills. But because I've been divorced, I think ever getting to a point where I could be like, oh, let me not pay bills would be really hard for me. And it would be like a lot of trust would have to be established. But even then, I don't know that I could ever not be 50-50 with bills. Yeah, it would be, well, I never got to do it. Like, because with my first relationship, I was paying more to keep us afloat. But I also don't know that I ever could let a man pay for all my bills. I don't think I could. So
do you think it's maybe a matter of just like safety and like feeling chosen that would allow you to?
Yes and no. Because I think on one level, yes. Like if I felt so secure in my relationship and like my new husband wouldn't try to hurt me like my old husband, maybe. But even I've thought about this a lot, and I've realized even if I am with the most loving, respectful man who I know like would kill for me and would take care of me in every possible way he could, what if he dies? That's very possible too. And now, and I stopped working for 20 years. What do I do now?
Yeah.
And to me, like, maybe from having such an uncertain life for so long, I couldn't imagine just like being like, all right, let me take my hands completely off the reins. Of course, like, I'm sure even if I was fully provided for, I'd still be working on the side because that's just who I am. But I find it hard to completely be like, you pay for 100% of everything now that we're in a relationship and we're merging everything together. So, you know, from a man's point of view, and I guess I bring that up because on one of our podcasts, we had a girl who was like, I always want to be 50-50, even on the first date, which, like, that blew my mind. And I was like,
No.
I actually don't agree with that
Uh-uh.
because I know her too. And I know me and most of my friends, we are the kind of girls who end up paying for everything 100%. So she was married also,
Hmm.
and we have all been in a situation where we have a guy sitting on our couch, not working towards anything. It's one thing if you're hustling and working towards a goal and you need
For
time,
sure. And then that's where
but
like the whole teamwork comes in, like, and like how committed you both are to like each other's growth and development and success.
yeah,
There's a time where like the woman can carry the household like for a small time if, like you said, the man is hustling and working towards their dreams.
yeah,
Like I have so many successful stories that they talk about how like behind every successful man there's a very supportive woman.
yeah, yeah.
And like there's so much truth to that, and it
Mm,
comes in very different forms as well.
yeah. Yeah. So for you, in, like, what have you encountered that where you date a girl that is like, no, I'm paying for everything on my own, or have all the girls you dated always been like, yeah, pay for everything?
No, so I've had a little bit of both experiences of like, you know, I used to live in Miami, and I would see like all the classic like
Oh yeah,
sugar babies and like kind of gold diggers and
for
stuff, and that
sure.
kind of like turned me off from that whole mentality. And I was like, fuck, I'm like, I don't know if I like this. And
Yeah,
then so I was like, then I started convincing myself. I was like, no, I think I want a woman like that's like as successful as me in her career, and like wants to has goals, and like isn't just like laying around not doing anything. And then I got a lot of that, and which is great in many ways, but then also other ways not so much. um, I realized I also craved some other things as
mm,
well. I craved soft feminine women more, and whatchamacallit. So I think it's just having a balance of both, like having a woman that appreciates being cared for,
mhm,
but I also don't mind. Like I think it's really hot to have a woman that's ambitious and like and is very passionate at what she does, and but again, at the end of the day, like if that's going to be my woman,
yeah,
like I'm going to want to provide for her long term, and
mm,
maybe not doesn't mean that I have to take care of everything now. And like modern day relationships, like we live in like in expensive cities and whatnot,
yeah,
splitting bills like that like definitely makes sense, and to a certain degree. And but then it's like where's your long-term mindset, like where do you
yeah,
want to be like 5, 10, 20 years from now? Are you still
mm,
going to be splitting bills? Are you still going to be 50-50? Like that's just not my style.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I do agree with that.
you know
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
again, for like to like let the woman pursue her dreams, her passions and stuff like that, and to do that like for work, most of the times you can create income off those things,
Yeah.
uh but not that it has to be like a stress for them, to take away the
Mm,
stress factor from you
I
guys,
see.
because that's what we're here to like do, and to like to take and to hold, because we're built
Yeah.
for that. we're our bodies
I
are just
agree
built more for
completely.
that.
I don't know if everybody watching will agree, but hopefully minds will be changed.
Yes, so we now live in a very sensitive time.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was growing up, I mean, when we were growing up, I feel like we were much more like far to the right, like a little more conservative, and we're to the point where it was like, also not great.
Yeah.
And then our generation came up and everyone became a little more open-minded, and like we've pendulumed over to the left so far that anything goes.
Yeah.
And that's not great either. And I just feel like there's a middle ground, a healthy middle ground where you can have conservative traditional values and still be open-minded, but not like far to the one side or far to the other.
Yeah.
And I think society is just kind of like extremely soft nowadays, and so soft that you can't, like you said, you can't say anything online without people getting
so
offended.
Yeah.
Like, one, take a joke.
Yeah.
The stereotypes are stereotyped because they're funny, because most people fall within that category. It doesn't mean everybody.
Reality.
Yeah, everybody is that case, but learn to laugh about yourself, you know.
Definitely.
But
yeah. One of the comments we had was, you know, because we were talking about how a man should pay on the first date, and one of the comments was, okay, so the man pays on the first date, that means the woman's cooking on the second. And I was like, okay, like, not that if a woman chooses to cook on the second date, great, but I think cooking is a much more intimate thing, you know. And I'm curious to hear your point of view on this. And it was the mentality he was coming at it with, you know, if the woman wants to cook on the second date, great. But like, also, like, no, it's only the second date. Like, I think there should be a time of the man pursuing the woman and like paying for multiple dates before the woman's like,
so we gotta rack it up before we earn the home cooked meal.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very like abrasive kind of a comment.
Yeah.
So with you and being somebody who is like very like, I want to take care of my woman and I do pay for everything, what do you see, especially maybe both like at the beginning of dating and like later on in the relationship, what do you see the woman's role as?
You know, that's interesting. I never thought a woman cooking for you was as intimate as you see it. I very much appreciate it. I think it's I grew up in a Mexican household where all the women in our family cook, and like they spoil the men in that way. So it was just kind of like it was a norm in my life, and I guess I never really thought of it that way. And I never realized how much I actually appreciate home cooked meals from like when a woman cooks for me.
Yeah.
Because it was just always there. It wasn't until I lacked that I realized, oh no, this is actually really nice.
Yeah.
This is nice. Well, just as it's nice for a man to pay on the first date, a man to be a gentleman, like doing all the chivalrous things that men should be doing. You know, it's the little things that kind of like go underseen or like underpass, like we don't necessarily think about nowadays.
Yeah.
They carry way more value than what we think.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I guess that's why I see cooking for a man being such like an intimate thing, almost, at least being in Hollywood and entertainment. Because if you think about it, let's say you just meet somebody for the first time, you go on your first date, a man takes you out, pays for a nice dinner. So as a woman in entertainment, second date, are you bringing him to your home to cook for him? To me, I feel like that's like, you got to earn that on like the fifth or sixth date.
I mean, if it's a complete stranger, I hear you. You know, there's the safety protocol, like inviting a man to your own place. No, for sure.
Yeah.
But say it's someone you've known for a while.
Yeah, then it's different.
And like, you know, they're like, they wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah,
or anything like that. Would you consider cooking him?
Then it's like chill. But I think like the mindset this guy was coming from when he left this comment was from like two strangers dating, and then by the second date, you know, if the man pays on the first, by the second date, okay, now it's the woman's turn, so the woman's cooking for him, which to me is like, I would never, like, if you are a complete stranger to me, I'm not cooking for you on the second date.
Maybe like, let's not focus so much on the cooking part, but like just inviting them home to your.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what's the real issue here.
If I could grill, maybe I would cook for you.
What if you cooked at his place?
If he's a complete stranger to me, I don't think I'd be going to his place on the second date. Even. Yeah, sure. Like it's to me, at least at this point in my life, it's, I don't know you.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. Yes, I just said to this on the last podcast, but I recently just had a blackmailer / stalker threat. And so that's become a much more serious thing for me. Like safety's become much bigger for me
For sure.
because I think my career has elevated recently in the past year or two, in a different way than because I think like when we met, my career was just starting and it was just a lot of hype and a lot of fun, running around doing splits and bikinis, But now it's like, okay, I have my own podcast. I've built my own life. I'm starting to do movies. And I have to be so much more careful, even with girls, with making friends. It's like
For sure.
who I bring into any aspect of my life. I have to be a lot more
Yeah.
careful.
Privacy is a luxury.
It is. It is.
And in a world where we live so much on social media, like all of our friends and I mean us
Yeah.
too, our business is online.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I hear you on that. Like I've also over
Yeah.
the years I've developed, want to become more private online, like and like
Yeah. Same.
and discern like what it is that I want to share online and what I don't want to share.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when we met, we had a whole group.
yeah, and then you have those influencers that just share everything online, everything and everything in their mothers.
we have seen a lot of that throughout our time.
Yeah.
I'm sure like we both have had moments where we're like, oh, shared too much.
Oh yes.
Whoops.
Looking back, I'm like, well, maybe it was a little too
Yeah. Learning experiences. So, but
much.
I'm in that same boat now where it's like I've gotten a lot more private and I've kept it very like online model burlesque. That's my image. But then
Yeah,
even when it comes to,
personal stuff.
yeah, it's very,
For sure, same.
very
And
quiet.
it's cool to like now figure out those boundaries, like what you feel comfortable and what you don't. So
Yeah.
it's like whenever something comes up, if like you're lacking content, oh no, this is a hard no.
Yeah.
This is this I can share.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, okay, so what I think is really interesting too is, you know, you've been, you said how like you really value traditional things more the older you get. But are you like, would you say that you're monogamous or poly or open? Because you've also been saying a lot like my woman, my woman. But what is your stance on like how you view relationships?
That has been a whole journey in and of itself.
Speaking of being public and
Yeah, speaking of being public. So growing up, I dated a few women, did the whole monogamous thing for a little while, and then got to a point where I was like, oh man, I feel like this isn't for me necessarily, or like I felt like I don't know, I felt like I was a bad person for wanting to connect with more than one person at a time, and then I got introduced to like the polyamorous community, being like more open and whatnot. I was like, oh wow, this is like really interesting. It's like as long as there's like clear communication and like you're honest about your intentions and whatnot, like this could actually work. I was like, oh wow, this is totally for me. This is like what I imagined myself all the time. I was like, I'm not just gonna have one wife. I'm gonna have like two. I'm just kidding. I told myself that for a while, but
Okay.
no. Not to mention I was just like on my single bachelor mode for. So marriage was not really in the question.
What do you mean? It sounds like marriage was all in the question. Multiple wives.
It was kind of joking that, but anyway, so I started like dabbling a little more with like a little more like open relationships and just still never really like polyamorous, like having like multiple partners at once. That's just a lot. That's a lot to handle.
I don't know.
I can barely handle one at a time.
Yeah. Poly people, I'm just like, how do you have the capacity?
Yeah, it's a lot. But I don't know. I found a lot of like healing in just being in certain open relationships, and it allowed me to like commit to a person within like while still maintaining a sense of freedom. Because that was like the biggest thing that why I like didn't want to get into a relationship for a long time was the fact that I felt like I couldn't just commit to one person, and I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to cheat on them, so I just like no, I'm not doing this. So I blocked myself hard out from that for a while. And so I had my whole experiences with that, and but it's funny. The older I get, again, finding beauty in tradition, like I feel like I'm starting to like to come back to like my roots in like monogamy again, and seeing all that. But I think one of the things that I've learned through open relationship are the communication practices that can be applied to any sort of relationship. Doesn't matter if you're monogamous, poly, or open.
Yeah.
That I think is a really solid foundation for any relationship, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. I mean,
like
ultimately, any relationship does need just trust and communication,
Yeah,
open or
full
closed.
transparency is like being able to have conversations with your partner, be like,
Hmm.
without having to fear like what the
Yeah.
outcome is. Listen, like sit them down, and be like, listen, just need to have a conversation with you. You know, talk about things. Doesn't mean you need to make any decisions or any irrational thoughts are happening, but let's just talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that way your partner knows what's happening in your partner knows what's wow. Okay, that way my partner knows what's happening in my mind,
Yeah.
and then and then they know what's and then I know what's happening in their mind.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so
Do you have a Catholic background?
yes, I was raised Catholic. Hmm.
Okay, but you're not
I
Catholic
don't consider myself
now?
religious.
Okay.
No. I kind of similarly with relationships after like being raised Catholic, I kind of pushed that away for a little while
Yeah.
and studied a lot of other religions across the world, like, um, and then kind of created my own set of beliefs. And right now, I'm kind of like looping back to not necessarily Catholicism, but like the
Mm.
Bible. Like the
Okay.
Bible's been calling me
Interesting.
again, and um, yeah, there's a lot of things I don't agree with religion,
Hmm.
uh, but my faith in God has never wavered, and there's a lot of things about that was taught through Catholicism that I still believe in, like a lot
Hmm.
of things from the Bible that I still believe in.
Yeah.
So I consider myself more spiritual,
Okay. I see.
but still some religious beliefs in there,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not religious.
Yeah. 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 This was not something that I thought I was going to touch on at
It was like,
all, but yeah, no, I understand because I come from a very Christian background.
mhm,
And same thing, and again, we've known each other for a long time, so we've seen this in each other. But I came from a very religious background and I was very, very Christian. And then after my divorce, moved heavily away from that,
yeah,
and kind of explored the whole open poly.
yeah, you did too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
I
I
almost
did.
forgot about that.
I you know tested around.
I feel like you gotta
Only
try at least, you know.
I think it's good to try. I always say, like, one of the most distinct moments I had in my marriage was we were in a fight, and I had never been with anybody before my ex-husband. He was the only man I had been with when we got married, and I just remember like crying after a fight and being like, "Is this it? Like, is this all there is to it? Like,
Mm,
is my life just going to be committed to this man where we're always fighting? There's always problems, and like eventually it became abusive." Um, and I'm a big believer of like you have to just kind of try everything and find what's for you.
mm-hmm.
And I tell people now, like in the end, I came right back around,
Full circle.
and I tell people I'm fully monogamous, fully traditional. Like a
Funny
lot
how
of
that works. Yeah,
oh, I know, yeah, it's crazy. It's like,
believe it
and
or
I
not.
don't want anything else, but
Yeah.
now I know I don't want anything else. But in the same way too, even like religiously, I guess I will never say that I'm a Christian, only because the amount of heat that I get, especially as a woman doing what I do,
Yeah, for sure.
I could never subjugate myself to that kind of criticism
Yeah,
again. And I love what I do.
I hear you. Like there's even going back to like rereading the Bible and stuff like that,
Mhm.
even like saying like keywords like I don't know, like God, Jesus, Christianity, stuff like that. I find myself like sometimes being a little hesitant to say that
Mm,
because of how it was perceived from other people.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I was also there of like just pushing that away so hard because of the extremists. You have
yeah,
some like really extreme Christian or Catholic people out there like just like trying to shove it down your throat. This is
yeah,
the only way. This is the only way. Like no, that's
yeah.
and then it comes perceived off like wrong, and it's
Yeah,
just
it's crazy. Well, and the wild thing to me is because I didn't grow up in the church. I grew up with my Bible. I wasn't allowed to go to church, so I would just read it over and over.
what do you mean you weren't allowed to go to church?
Like I was not allowed to go to church. Like I was banned from church.
Why?
So my
What did you
mom,
do?
well, that was the thing. I was like the perfect kid, and I would it. So okay, this is a little peek into my childhood. It was the most confusing time of my life because I was told if I went to church, then I hated God.
Huh,
I know.
who told you
So
that?
my dad. So my mom was, missionary, religious, so she raised me reading the Bible. And then my dad was from China and met my mom while she was on a mission trip and said he believed, but then came here and changed his mind. And then the whole thing with W. Bush happened and he just hated Christians. And I was only in 6th grade. And so I was banned from going to church because politically, whatever, I'm not really going to dive into that.
Okay.
Point is, I was raised to be Christian, told this is the key to life, but at the same time raised that I was banned from going to church because the people there were evil, which, like,
what a contradiction.
What do you do with that as a kid? So my childhood, I would be locked in my room reading my Bible, confused out of my mind. But I did really read the Bible. And that was a big reason why when I finally went to church, I was just shocked. I was actually telling my mom this last night. The only time I ever felt racism for the fact that I'm mixed and I'm not full white was when I was in a Baptist university. And I felt like there was something wrong with me because I was not an American white girl, which is
how people made
crazy.
you feel?
Yeah. And I was so bummed because I'd spent my whole life with, like, one day I'll make it to church. And I was like, I'm finally living at church because, you know, I was living on campus at a Baptist university. And I did not fit in at all. And people were mean to me. And I was like, wow, like, this is what I've been waiting for. So it's a big reason why, like, I'll never, like, say, like, oh, I'm a Christian because it's, you know,
the stigma
it can become very cultish. But in the same way, the older I've gotten, the more I've come back around to, but I've read this book so many times, and there's things that I see, the traditions, the values, and even, like, historically, there's a lot, you can create a lot of connections to what's happening now.
You know what's so crazy?
What?
How long people used to live.
I know.
Like hundreds of years old.
It's insane.
Like, when I started rereading the Bible again, I was like, wait, did I read that right? It was like, the oldest person in history was like 969 years old.
Yeah, wild.
Like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, and I know too, we both had that conspiracy theory, which maybe we'll have to save that for another episode.
Conspiracy theory.
Well, you know, we'll just blanket it with that. But going back to the main topic, the most interesting thing I think about the Bible is that one of my favorite people in history is, I believe her name is Rahab. It's been a while since I've read it.
Yeah, continue.
She's a prostitute. She was a prostitute who she saved. Like, God sent 2 messengers into the. I did not plan on going this route at all for my podcast, but God sent 2 messengers into the city, and they were gonna kill them. And so she saved them and she snuck them out. And she is actually in Jesus's line of ancestors. And so here she is, this disgraced woman that God, like, revered, and now is, like, famous throughout all of time, you know?
Was she part of ISIS? Like, not the terrorist group.
Okay.
There's the cult of ISIS, or is it you're good.
Totally took me by surprise.
Have you read the Mary Magdalene manuscript?
No.
Okay.
I haven't, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, there's this group of women that were, like, basically of this group, I believe it was named ISIS, and there's they practice like sex magic, basically.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have not heard of
it. But it was like it was a whole thing. Anyways, Mary Magdalene was yeah, I'm blanking.
Oh no.
What's no. What's Jesus's other name? They refer to Jesus as, there's Jesus and
Yahweh. No.
Yeshua. That's right.
We got there.
Okay, we got there.
Okay.
We're gonna have to cut this. All right. Sorry. So Mary Magdalene was one of Yeshua's her main partner, and basically what the book talks about is that, like, how Yeshua was able to achieve higher states of consciousness through the divine union of the masculine and feminine. And in this book, it talks about the practices that they do. And like you said, like, a lot of people at the time, they disregarded her. Like, they thought that she was a whore and, like, didn't really, like, give 2 cents about what she said or did,
Mhm.
but she was a big part of like Yeshua like achieving Christ consciousness,
Mm.
and people just don't talk about that these days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the if you look throughout the entire book, there are so many strong women that were essential to what everything that happened,
Hmm.
and they were majority of them were all prostitutes. So, they were heavily looked down on
Yeah,
and considered disgrace. And now, like, here everybody's in church praying to them, and then they look at people like me, a burlesque dancer. Like, I will say,
and treating you the same.
yeah, the meanest messages I got when I started burlesque dancing were from women who knew me when I was 6 years old, telling me I was going to hell and that I was just this terrible person. And I was just like,
All
crazy.
judgment is rooted in self-judgment.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
they're not at
truly.
peace in themselves with
Yeah,
themselves, so they have to lash out on other people.
yeah. It's crazy. It's
It's
so
really sad.
wild. It is. It's really really sad. So that's why I never say that I'm Christian. But it's interesting, and the longer I've been in entertainment, the more I meet people similar to you and I who have their roots in learning the Bible, let's just say,
Yeah,
and have kind of like through exploring everything, kind of find their way back.
go back full circle. Yeah,
Yeah, even the production company that I work with, they write the horror movies. They're Christian.
really.
Yeah,
A Christian
so
company writing horror movies.
yeah, yeah, and they
Wow.
they actually the first day I met them, that I went in to talk to them, they sat me down and they were like, "We noticed you have a verse in your bio," and I was like, "Oh yeah, but I'm not Christian." And they're like, "Why are you so quick to like shut down saying that?" They were like, "We're Christian. If you actually watch our movies, we usually will put like some little verse or something in there somewhere."
You know, that's really cool. I like that because I usually stay away from horror movies, not because I'm
Same.
scared, but
I am.
I just don't like the energy it
Yeah,
carries with it. Like I just
same.
feel like there's a lot of like satanic, demonic energy you call into when watching those things or when
Yeah,
creating those
I
things.
agree.
You know, you go into the movie theaters, like you feel the like the ambience like tense. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I don't particularly enjoy that.
Same. Yeah, I do not allow anybody to watch horror movies in my home because I'm very spiritually sensitive.
Yeah,
And I used to be a missionary. So when I was in Africa, there was a demon exorcism that happened. And because of that, I don't invite any of that into my home,
good, good.
which is why when I got signed
But
to
that's
do,
crazy that you
yeah,
got that. You know.
wild. And I will say, when we filmed this recent movie, we filmed it in a haunted house. It's a historic museum called the Heritage Museum, and they've relocated these historic houses and preserved them all in this one spot. And I didn't believe in ghosts until that day.
Oh, for sure, there's ghosts.
Yeah,
Definitely ghosts.
I know now. But the whole time while we're filming this movie, we had to be mindful of the different ghosts in each room. And I think I can say, as soon as my scene started and we started filming like my scene, there was a music box that we had taped down so that
Mhm.
it wouldn't play. And the second he said action, it started playing.
Wow.
And nobody stopped. No one said cut, and I'm like freaking out because like I'm so spiritually
Yeah,
sensitive,
yeah.
and I'm like, well, I guess I just have to keep acting. So here I'm like being all sexy, but in my head I'm like,
What
holy fucking shit, there's a ghost right now.
the
It was crazy. So um yeah, so acting in horror movies is really fascinating, but I'm just thankful to have like a good production crew that I'm working with,
nice.
that like is very sensitive to me and what I need. um and it's just a fascinating thing. I still like, even watching, I think I'm going to watch the movies I was in. I'm still not totally sure though, because I am sensitive. Maybe I'll just watch my parts and close my eyes for the rest, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Unexpected route. So
So, real quick question.
yeah,
Short answer is totally fine. Why did this Christian company decide to go into horror movies?
that's a great question, and I may have to bring them onto the podcast and ask them honestly.
Okay.
um I'm trying to remember if they told me. I don't think they told me why.
Ask them. I'd love to find out.
I would love to find out as well. Yeah, I've thought of bringing them on at some point. It's
Maybe it's the
just,
thought is like maybe they can, place some good within like
I think
a
so.
darker scene.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, I'm a big believer of like, I almost want to use the word predestination, but I feel like that's more of like if you're going to
Final
heaven or
Destination?
hell.
No, I'm
No.
just kidding.
No. um, I'm a big believer that like our paths are kind of already written for us,
For sure.
which is why I really believe like a big conversation I have with my family is we cry often because they never wanted this life for me. And the reality is like they were not in my life for 6 years and now they are. And they can't deny that the way in which they raised me caused trauma. And I went through some really terrible things.
Mhm.
Like, in building my career, there were a lot of things that I went through that I wish I never had experienced. That's a big reason why I had to dissociate from a lot of our group because there were different instances that happened that I never would have wanted to happen that did. And so, but I tell them often, I'm like, I never planned on being a fucking Playboy model and being like naked on a poster, that wasn't like my goal or my dream, but it got me here.
Mhm.
And now because I'm here and I've come to the other side where like, yeah, like I kind of sold my body to get to where I'm at in my career. And now like I'm successful and I don't have to do the things I used to do. And it kind of sucks because that's not really what I wanted and it's forever out there. But now that I'm here, I can at least say something about it. I can at least make a difference. I can make a change. I can start a podcast and advocate for the women who go through this
Mhm.
because I'm a big believer of the more you tear these women down who are selling their bodies, the more you're just like shoving them further into a pit. And I'm not saying like it's not about revering them or throwing them down. It's just like let people be where they're at. And rather than criticizing people, if you're gonna not appreciate their work or their art, just like try to understand where they're coming from and like stop criticizing them because like you said, it just comes from a place of your own insecurity and jealousy.
Exactly.
I always tell my mom, I'm like, look, I didn't need everybody from my hometown calling me a stripper. I just needed somebody to say they loved me and somebody to help me with, getting a fucking meal. And instead, I had to like dive into a pit of this world that I didn't plan on going in. Like, I love burlesque, I love modeling. There's other things I did though that I wish I never had. And when you're starting out as a woman in this career, it is a really savage industry. Even as a man, I've heard men like I feel the worst for like go-go dancer, straight go-go dancer males. I think they have it the worst. I hear their horror stories and I'm like, women go through nothing compared to them.
Damn.
But as women, we are at such a disadvantage because already as a woman wanting to work in a normal industry, you're dealing with so much, like even in the corporate world. But then as a woman in a sexualized industry, that's also very public, you're dealing with a lot and it takes a lot to handle.
For sure.
And that's why, our biggest icons like Marilyn Monroe, they had such tragic lives. And so my hope is that like I I think there is definitely an element of tragedy in my life, unfortunately, that I hope me and my family can heal from. But my hope is that now hitting, here's my age, 30, that everything from here can be uplifting and I can just use the tragedy to build off of it and hopefully pave like an easier way for women coming into the world. And that's why I want to bring men on too, so that, it's more of a collaborative effort to make it easier for women because it is so hard, and women shouldn't have to walk down the streets feeling threatened or worried about being raped or
Hmm.
trying to get a job and having to feel like she can't go to a business meeting without a man trying to take advantage of her. Um, that's kind of my goal here. So I don't remember what your question was.
How did Christian Company get
Oh,
into horror movies? I don't know
yeah.
how we
Well,
started off
didn't
there,
answer that.
but no, it's all good.
Anyways, on that note, Do you have any questions?
Sure. On the Christian thing we were just talking about, I just wanted to, like, off the top of my head, I think some of the early horror stories from like the 30s, a lot of early horror, American horror was Christian themed. Yeah, I can't name any names right now.
Interesting.
Not like
That
the
is
Turning of the
interesting.
Screw. Yeah, but there used to be like Christian magic, where like you would get those Christians with that wands, really weird
Yeah.
type of stuff.
I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, on that theme of like Christian magic and all that stuff, like I mean, there's also, the roots of the Vatican, like
Yeah.
how how good is that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and a
I
lot
don't.
of like Christmas is actually a pagan holiday and they just rewrote it.
Yeah,
So that's why religion in general, it's like
I don't trust it.
it's just a cult, I think.
Hmm.
But
Unfortunately,
yeah.
which, yeah, it's very unfortunate because at the base is good,
Yeah.
and actually the base of like Christianity was actually a lot more spiritual,
Mm.
and it wasn't until like the abuse of power and
Yeah,
money started
exactly.
to seep into the picture that it became what it is now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I'm a big believer of like if you're gonna be Christian or whatever, read your Bible. Just read it.
Just read the Bible.
Just
Exactly.
read it. Like that's what the whole religion is supposed to be based on. So read it.
Uh huh.
And then see if like the person you're following, your pastor, whatever, is even on track with what it's talking about. Because sometimes they're not.
Hmm.
So okay.
Back to the male thing. So I was wondering, like, as a man, when you something you said that was really interesting is judgment is rooted in self judgment. But at the same time, like I'm sure you can navigate through life, you come across other men who maybe it's one thing to not pay, but they just don't carry their weight as a man. So how do you not judge, but how do you like? Because when you kind of meet other guys, you kind of put them in your head, like almost like what type of person they are. You don't know them, you can kind of get a sense.
Hmm.
How do you go about just kind of navigating other men who may feel like they're no good? Or was there ever a time you had to work on not being so quick to judge yourself or to be judgmental yourself? Or how's that been for you?
Yeah. Can you say that again? The part of like uh, men not carrying their weight. Okay, men not carrying their weight.
Yeah, or just,
And like how do you I react to like so being so quick to judge? You're right.
or how do you navigate comparing yourself or, yeah, just not, okay, throughout time, has the way you view men who are maybe immature or not,
Carrying their weight.
yeah, how's that changed over time as you mature? So,
Mm.
Cool. You want to ask that to me, or should I just answer it for
You
you?
go for it.
Um, over time, seeing men that haven't necessarily been carrying their weight, and then also being aware that all judgment is rooted in self-judgment,
Mm.
it's kind of like an interesting balance there because you see someone acting accordingly, and then we're very quick to want to fix other people.
Mm.
We can very easily give advice, but it's hard for us to take advice.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm encountered in a situation like that, I try to take a second to pause and reflect. I'm like, okay, am I judging them because of something that I'm not fully secure about, or is it something that is not is triggering within me, or is it just like an objective point of view that I just don't agree with? And most of the time, it's been men, like you said, like not carrying their weight fully and not acting as a man should,
Mm.
and uh, and that comes down to just like basic chivalry of like manners. Like being a man is not just like being strong and like having a voice and like all this stuff, but it's like basic manners too. Like I I grew up and I was taught to be a gentleman, of like pulling out chairs for women, opening their doors, carrying their bags, paying for women as well, taking care of them in those little ways that also comes with like showing respect as a man on the day to day, which can be as simple as like shaking another man's hand and like looking them in the eye, these little things.
Mm.
I have noticed that a lot of guys out there lack certain of these basic principles, which later leak into how they treat other women or
Mm-hmm.
other men as
Yeah.
well. So I try not to judge, but I do see a lot of things that I just don't agree with, and I wouldn't do. I place myself in their shoes as like, how would I act in that moment? And so that's where I'm able to discern like judgment from criticism, you know?
Interesting. That is very interesting because coming from a man's point of view and makes sense. From a woman's point of view, it's totally different. I think when I there's no way to say this where it doesn't sound bad, so I'm just gonna say
Just
it.
say it.
I will just shut down and shut out men as quickly as possible all the time, unfortunately. I was just telling my neighbor the other day, I would love to be the neighbor that's just like, and sometimes I am, that's just like, hello, how's it going? Walking down the street with like birds singing, you know. I can't. And I think every girl I know knows, at least here in Hollywood, you can't. You have to be a bitch walking down the street. You have to, even if a man is trying to be a gentleman and approaches you in a nice way, you have to shut it down instantly, because before you know it, you're being followed home, you know.
I hear you. I've also been on the receiving end of that, where it was just like trying to be nice, like compliment someone's like dress or something like that. Like I'll do that to guys and girls, you know. But I've definitely noticed that like a lot of women are just on that like hard, like you have to shut them down. And like you're right, there's so many predators out there that like you have to, but you know, maybe take a second next time to just consider, be like, oh, was this kind of like were they trying to flirt with me, or was that just like them being nice? You know, because there are still nice guys out there.
There are. When the bummer is, for women don't have the luxury to take that second, because it just takes one small lapse of judgment,
and then they'll start following you, and yeah, you know, you're right.
It's kind of life or death, at least in Hollywood, in LA, in big cities in America, you know. And I think most women, you know, every woman I know who works in entertainment has been assaulted or raped. It's really unfortunate. It really sucks, but or at the very least in a situation where they did not want to have sex but could not safely escape, you know, at the very, very least. And so, you know, the bummer is like, I think, you know, and I guess as a man too, maybe know that if you are just genuinely complimenting somebody and you don't mean anything by it, and she shuts you down instantly, don't take it personally.
Oh, I know, I never take it personally.
Yeah. For other men out there, because there's been plenty of men where like too, even sometimes I can tell like this is probably a nice guy, but even so, I also don't want to like
lead them on.
Exactly. And I like, you know, next you're gonna ask for my number, now you're gonna ask me out, and it's like, you know, even with my neighbors.
That's where you can just hard line. You could be like, hey, I was nice, like all good. No, I'm not interested. You know.
Yeah, but that also sounds bitchy too. To like,
you're gonna be bitchy either way. You know,
there's no away from
or
it. Yeah.
2-3 steps down.
It's true. You unfortunately, like, you have to be. So I will say too, though. Now on the flip side, when I am interested in somebody, and sometimes they aren't quite meeting my standard, and I've told this to other girls too, we're in a culture now where women have been kind of taught to like be the cool girl. If a guy does not meet an expectation, a basic expectation of
pursuing,
or just like blowing you off, or not telling you they're coming 30 minutes late, or like little considerations, or you know, maybe like you said, even honest communication, like, you know, men dating multiple women but hiding it and not being honest about it, or acting like you're dating one when you're dating 20 or something like that. A lot of girls now have this mentality of, once they find out like, oh, I'm just going to cut them off, or I'm just going to act like I don't care, or I'm just going to act like I don't notice. I'm a big believer of, no, you call it out. You don't call it out aggressively or attackingly, because you're not in a relationship. Did they really do anything wrong?
Yeah, no, just call it out. But they're not going to change.
Exactly.
And I do the same thing with guys. Like when I see a guy acting like out of integrity or something, like I call him out on it. I'm like, yo, man to man, this is not cool, dude.
Exactly.
And my friends do the same to me. I'd expect anyone who cares anything about me to do the same if I ever act out of integrity, you know?
Definitely.
That's how we're going to continue
to grow.
Continue to grow and change the world. Because if everyone just keeps doing what they're doing and we just act like it's all
nothing
cool,
changes.
Nothing changes, you know? And the kids nowadays, I mean, kids, like the guys and girls nowadays, like we're grown up, but I feel like we've kind of like forgotten our manners and like
Yeah,
how,
I agree.
and no one's saying anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, it's you just have to call it out. Even with my girlfriends, we're really good about like if we see each other like kind of stumbling, we'll call it out and be like, hey, maybe don't do that,
yeah, yeah,
But in the same way, in dating too, still important to do.
yeah,
Whether it's
100%.
the first date, whether you've been together for 5 years, you just call out, hey,
And it's honestly easier to do it in the first date.
oh, what?
It's easier to do it earlier on than later, you know?
Yeah, I think for girls it's not.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've noticed.
But like, say you're like, you start dating someone for like a long period of time and you haven't said something for a little while, like, how much more difficult is it going to be for you to say that
I do agree.
later than earlier in the relationship? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've seen girls have a lot more difficulty addressing things earlier on. And maybe that's
And it
how
doesn't
men
have to
and
be like
women
maybe
are.
like second, third date, but like
Yeah. No, and even
first
then, I
month.
feel like women, at least we tend to I think because we have such a stigma of being crazy, we try to like repress how we feel
Mhm.
about things rather than just saying like, "Hey, I don't appreciate that." And then, you end up dating and 10 years later you're suddenly so frustrated that you blow up and you lash out and you're like, and by then it's not hard because you're so
Mhm.
upset. But at the beginning, I think we have more difficulty saying like, "Hey, I didn't appreciate that,"
Yeah.
Um, but it would probably save the relationship 10 years later if you had just said something on the first date.
Yeah, exactly. Also on that note, like,
Yeah.
what do you think is like the role of a man or a female in a relationship?
Um, the funny thing is doing this podcast and trying to help people establish their roles, I think what everyone needs to choose within their own context of what that looks like, and communication and honesty is the most important thing. For me personally, and I'm not saying this is how it should be for everybody, but for me personally, I feel that I like a man being like the leader in a sense and the woman being the support. And it's not like, it's still very equal. And it still is like, I want a man who will be like, this is what we're doing and this is the direction we're going in, but we'll also listen to my opinion and we'll like adjust and find the right point. But I like the man to be the one of like, we're going. Like I like the man in
100%.
the driver's
Yeah.
seat.
It's like the man is the container and the woman is the fluid, you know? It's
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
emotion. Like the man has to be willing to listen to the
Yeah.
female because
Exactly.
typically the females are very intuitive,
Yeah.
you know?
My
And
mom has a good way of stating it. The man's the head and the woman's the neck. So she turns which way he goes, but he's the one like the the head,
the head, yeah, but also a true man is not afraid to listen to their woman. Actually,
Yeah.
not only afraid, but a true man like listens to their woman attentively because the woman
Yeah.
sometimes catches things energetically that a man
Hmm.
will not, you know, and that's
Yeah.
where the strength lies
Yeah.
when they both work
It's
together
a
like that.
partnership.
Exactly,
And it's celebrating each other's strengths and weaknesses and like
100%. And
moving
again,
up.
it just goes back to the whole theme that we were talking about. Like we're built differently,
Yeah.
you know. It should not be equal. It should be fair, yes, but it's not equal. Like we're built like
Mm.
men have superior strength to women on average, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
women are more intuitive than men on average,
Yeah, yeah.
and so on and so forth. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
we both have our strengths and our weaknesses, and that's why when we combine each other and we come together, we become whole. And it's like it's a complement, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a partnership for sure. So yeah, that's my opinion. I do like a man who can provide for me. I will say that too. But I just always like knowing I can provide for myself also.
Let's talk in 10, 20 years. Let's see how you feel about that.
Well, yeah, maybe different by then, but at
Yeah,
least at
no,
least at this point in my life.
but I feel you. Like you definitely, there's that sense of security that you like feel that you can, whatever happens, you can still provide for yourself. And
Yeah.
I hear you on that. But I think most of it does come down to just being like two things, like feeling safe and
Hmm.
feeling chosen by your man,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
if those two are like fully met, like the woman can surrender.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that is also part of like the woman's like ability is to surrender, and the man is to like lead and penetrate and guide, you know?
And
So
protect.
and protect.
I've found for me, like I tend to I actually kind of like meeting my guy before he hits his success. I like being able to support him and build
That's
him to
awesome.
get
That's
there.
oh yeah.
So the providing part isn't like the biggest thing, but in
Yeah.
20 years, of course, I
Yeah.
want you to
And don't get me wrong, it's like
yeah.
I'm not trying to say that like it should always be this way.
For
Like you
sure,
said,
it changes throughout time.
yeah, if and if there's a moment where like, you guys are in like a partnership and like,
Hmm.
you're in this for the long haul,
Yeah,
and there's a time where the woman is like making more money than the man, like, and the man is still like hustling on his dreams, like
yeah,
by all means, like you guys are a team, you guys can like keep yourselves afloat, and
definitely.
over the long term, it's like then things like pan out differently.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it doesn't always have to be that way.
yeah.
There's a certain fluidity to each relationship.
Yeah, which is essential.
Hmm.
So I do think too, something that I found, especially in my current where I'm at now, that's been really important to me in my own personal life and my own dating life is a man that protects me. It's actually become the most important thing to me, and having a man that I know,
Right.
yeah, because my life
Especially
is
given your
yeah,
history and your background, like that must be very important to you,
it's
as it is
huge.
for many women as well. But like
Yeah.
people that have like had trauma in that area of life, like of course you want to feel protected and safe. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And I've learned too something that I value in my personal life now is also, my man teaching me to protect myself when he can't be there too, which has
Yes.
been something I never really thought about. Like, because I'm already pretty strong in general, at least like for being a tiny girl. But
Do you carry pepper spray?
I actually used to have a military knife on hand.
Do you know how to use the knife?
No,
Because that's the
I just
thing.
go for the eye.
That
That's still my
that
game plan though. With the key, I'll put the key. If I don't have my knife on me, I'll have a key in between my fingers,
yeah.
and I just go for the eye.
Just careful with the knives as well, because like it can become a tool
Yeah.
against you. You
Well,
know.
and that's where currently um, my partner has encouraged me to learn jujitsu. So I actually just took my first jujitsu class
Great.
yesterday.
I highly support this.
Yes, yeah. Best decision ever. I never would have done it if he had not encouraged me
Yeah.
to. So that has been great, because
So,
it's like you said, with the knife, it could be
yeah.
taken.
But a word for the ladies out there: uh, carry a pepper spray with you. It's
Yeah,
the
that's a good
easiest
one.
thing to have. It's super safe. You can keep it at a distance. You don't have to engage with your predator. Or and even as a guy, like I have pepper spray in my car and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
can fight. I can take care of myself. I like train with weapons and everything. But like
Uh-huh.
still, like my first line of defense is like keeping a safe distance
Mm,
and use pepper spray. Easy, boom,
yeah,
and then like weapons and all that stuff, like last resort, like last thing you want to do, because then again it can be turned against you, even
yeah.
when you know
That's
how to use
true.
them and you know how to fight, and you never know who you're going up against.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That is true, especially out here.
Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Um, so that guy who left that commenter that if I'm paying for the first date, the woman's cooking on the second. It's interesting that he didn't say if I'm paying for the first date, the woman is paying for the second. He
Yeah.
just kind of put her straight into like the kitchen and serve like kind of like a service thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's interesting. Just something I noted. I don't know if you guys want
Yeah.
to comment.
So that guy that commented, like if I'm paying for the first date, the woman's cooking me a meal on the second. Yeah. You know.
It's almost like it's a
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely feel the energy behind that comment of like it's like he's saying it in a derogatory way,
yeah,
and in a way to like entice and trigger people.
yeah,
Um, just like, yeah, leaning into those classical stereotypes of like, oh yeah, well then a woman belongs in the kitchen type of stuff,
yeah,
But it's it's kind of frustrating to see that like you can't really say those things without people getting like offended, because
yeah.
like we touched upon as well, like it's a really beautiful like feeling to have a meal cooked for you, whether
Yeah,
you're
it
a man or a
is.
woman.
Mhm,
I'll tell you, as a
mhm.
man, it feels really nice to have a home cooked meal from a woman.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, like those type of comments, like they're just like looking to like
trigger.
trigger people saying those things, like they're like leaning into those like classical
Yeah.
stereotypes of I'm gonna say this to like light some shit on fire.
Yeah. which is really sad to take
Yeah.
something beautiful and turn it into
Because
something.
someone could have said that with a different tone,
Yeah,
and it would have been taken completely differently.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on and
You're
being
so
our
welcome.
technically third man on this woman podcast.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see the rest of you in 2 weeks for another episode.